So I want to show you how to alleviate your stress and escape your procrastination cycle without having to journal, meditate, go to therapy, or do an ayahuasca retreat in the mountains with a shaman. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Josh Smart. I've been a mindset, health, and performance coach to men for the past 5 years, having now coached over 170 men one-on-one. Now, I want to briefly go over the 3 causes of stress, the first being mindset or your perception around stress. So there was a study done by Aaliyah Crum who compared 2 groups of subjects. The first group had the belief that stress was debilitating, and the second group perceived stress as enhancing. And essentially they measured the 2 groups on a bunch of different biomarkers and performance markers when they were exposed to the same stressor. Now, the group that saw stress as debilitating saw decreases across the board in their biochemistry, their biology, and in their performance, whereas the second group who saw stress as enhancing saw improvements in all those different metrics, which really just reinforces how important your perception of stress is in how you respond to stressful situations. The second is lack, or some perceived lack. We've all experienced stress when we're on a time crunch and we have a deadline to meet because we are perceiving a lack of time. But this also applies to a perceived lack of money, a perceived lack of support or resources of some kind, information. When we have a perceived lack, we will experience stress as a byproduct. Now, the third is our physiology when we're locked into a chronic sympathetic state or we have chronically elevated cortisol, but that's not what this video is about. I just thought I'd add it because it is a cause of stress. Now, what I want to run you through here is the anatomy around the perception of stress. So we have 2 vectors. We have the stress or the stressful stimulus, and we have the avoidance practice. So what you have to understand is that the mind is always trying to maintain equilibrium. And if you aren't maintaining equilibrium through your perceptions, you will maintain it through your behavior. So essentially, the stressor here in this scenario is that it's really attached with a negative perception. So we're seeing it through the lens of pain, challenge, difficulty, and ultimately avoidance. And we have this avoidance practice because of this negative perception around this stressor, creating stress, causing us to avoid it. This is you. And this practice is going to be different for everyone. For some people, it's TV or Netflix or video games. For some people, it's food or alcohol. For others, it's porn. Whatever it is, for you, you're going to have some form of an avoidance practice to escape the negative stress and the perception that you have creating that negative experience of stress, to try and create equilibrium in your physiology and in your psychology and really restore you back to equilibrium, right? So how do we overcome this? What we have to do is we have to restore the perception back to equilibrium, which means we have to restore both of these vectors back to a state of equilibrium. So starting at the stress side, we have to actually tip your perception of stress into a more positive direction to bring it back to a neutral state. So we want to ask the question here, and I recommend taking out a piece of paper and listing this down. What are all of the upsides or benefits or lessons even that you are receiving from the stress that you're experiencing right now, and how is it serving or teaching you more about your highest values? So your highest values might be family, it might be self-improvement, it could be your financial status, whatever it is, whatever is most important to you, you want to find the benefits that the stress is creating in your life and how it's benefiting your highest values. So for example, maybe your financial status is a high value of yours. How is the stress that you're experiencing right now going to benefit your financial status? Is it going to make you more resilient and able to do difficult work so that you can increase your financial status? Is it going to challenge you to take on greater and greater challenges, which is going to benefit your financial status? Or we can apply that same line of thinking to your self-improvement. Is it going to improve your resilience, willpower, discipline, or some other character trait? If your highest value is your family, how is this going to make you a better father or a better partner? How is it going to benefit your family? Once you can bring the perception that you have around the stress to a neutral state, we then want to move on to the avoidance practice. So how is this avoidance practice actually making you worse off? How is it harming you? How is it working against your highest values? How is it hurting your highest values? So again, it could be family, self-improvement, financial status, whatever it may be. In this example, we're watching TV, that's the avoidance practice. How is watching TV damaging your relationship with your kids or with your wife? How is it hurting your financial status? Is it really taking away from the money that you could be earning? How is it taking away from your self-improvement? Is it harming your discipline and willpower? Is it making you a more dopamine addicted rat? You want to create at least 15 on each of those lists. I would go as far as 30 if you can, and list these down on paper. And what's going to happen once you're able to restore this psychological equilibrium, because again, if you don't restore it within your psyche, it will be restored with your behavior, then you'll be able to see both of these 2 activities as equal and neutral, and you will have that psychological equilibrium. As a result, the stress will alleviate. You will stop experiencing chronic and negative stress, and you will start experiencing what's known as eustress, which is positive stress that enhances performance. You'll also break the cycle of procrastination, again, enhancing your performance. And as a result, you will just restore your mind to a more peaceful state, more productive state, and you'll be able to perform at a much higher level. Now, if you want a free course running you through this in much greater detail, as well as the same anatomy for all of the different negative emotions, from fear and anxiety to depression to regret, anger, frustration, all of that, I'm going to leave a button down below to join our free course. There's also a free community attached to it, as well as a course on training, nutrition, performance, and productivity. It's all there. Hit the button below, sign up, and join now, and I'll see you in there.